Hi, thanks for joining us. I'm Rob Cox with CoolCenter.com. Today we're going to replace a Polaris Booster Pump motor. Let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is remove the incoming and outgoing pipes from this booster pump. On this particular setup, we've got the flexible pipes, and we pull back on this union collar, and then we can simply work the flexible pipes off. Next, we're going to shut off the power at the breaker so that we don't zap ourselves when we take the wires off. Now we have the power off at the breaker box, we can start unwiring the electrical. This bare copper wire on the back is called a bonding wire, and I'll just snip it off because we have a new bonding lug on the new pump motor. Secondly, we'll remove the cover plate to gain access to the wires coming into the motor. First, I've got a ground wire here. And now that we've got the green ground wire removed, I can get in here with a 5/16 nut driver. Remove one of the power leads. And the second power lead. Now we'll loosen this union collar nut here. We'll pull the wires out. Now our wires are disconnected. Okay, now that we've got the motor removed, we can remove the volute, 1/2-inch wrench, and now we're looking at the impeller, which we will now remove. To remove the impeller, we need to hold the shaft that runs through the motor stationary. One way to do it is to come up here into the bracket and grab the shaft with some straight pliers. Alternatively, we can come to the back here and remove this cover plate, and you'll see the shaft in there is slotted for a screwdriver, and it's also slotted on the sides to accept a 9/16. Holding the shaft stationary in the back, I can get a pair of channel locks gently on the opening of the impeller and twist it off. You can also use a strap wrench, like an oil filter wrench. And there our impeller comes off. If you notice any melting around the impeller here, you're going to need to replace the impeller as well. This one looks pretty good though. And now with the impeller removed, we can remove the 4 bolts here that secure the bracket into the motor. Okay, the next thing we do is we need to bang out the old seal, the shaft seal. This is a number 1000 seal that's in the bracket there. And we need to remove it so that we can replace it. And I've got a old socket, a spark plug socket here. Line that up in there. Hold it with a pair of pliers. And now we've got that out. Now I'd like to just clean up the bracket a little bit. There's some silicone on here. I'm going to replace. Clean up the area where our new seal is going to fit. Clean up the back part just a little bit where it faces the motor. Now in the impeller, I noticed that the half of the other part of the seal remained inside the impeller here. The ceramic ring came out, but it left behind the rubber part of the donut, as I call it. If I get in here with a screwdriver, I should be able to pop that out. There we go. And once again, that's a good looking impeller, not melted or warped or deformed in any way. Now to place the new seal in there, we're using a shaft seal number 1000. That's the proper seal for the Polaris Booster Pump. And notice it, just like the other one we took out, it comes in two parts. The springy part, which goes into the bracket, and the ceramic ring, or what I call the donut part, which will fit into the impeller. It's important not to get grease onto that ceramic face, so just grab a piece of paper or something and push it firmly into the impeller so that it's even. The second half, we're going to press fit into the bracket here. The tool of choice for press fitting it is a 1-inch coupling, because it fits very nicely over the top of the seal and mates up perfectly with that stainless steel ring. Second thing we need, besides the 1-inch coupling, is some silicone to help seal up around this face as we press it in. You can use blue RTV, any sort of silicone rubber gasket sealer, and just make a nice bead around the seal. Place it right there. Now we have our new motor here. This is a particular A.O. Smith motor made specifically for Polaris booster pumps. It's got an extended shaft which requires an O-ring. And the O-ring on our old motor here looks kind of dry and old, so we're going to replace it with a new one. And we ordered from poolcenter.com. The parts came very quick, didn't they, Joe?
2 days.
2 days. All right, that's great. The O-ring for this shaft is known as an O2216. or also a 0117. Slip that right there on the shaft. Now we can bolt on our bracket. The label here will go on the up side. The up is the capacitor bump here. And we have to also bolt on the base at the same time, using the longer bolts on the bottom. And the shorter bolts on the top. Now the bracket is firmly attached to the new motor, and we can spin on the impeller. I'm going to grab the shaft here while I tighten this down all the way until the impeller comes to a stop, very close to the bracket, about 1/8 of an inch. Now remember, we had a little bit of silicone on our face here. A little bit left over on the volute side. Peel all that off. And don't forget, we also have an O-ring that's going to go in here as well. So first I'll place the O-ring around. Then we'll use a little bit of this silicone rubber. This sort of assists in sealing up this volute. Don't need too much of it. That goes on the front. And we can start to bolt it up.
You like wrenches?
Okay. All back together again. Let's go wire it up. Okay. We took off this 90-degree conduit fitting off of the old pump motor. And we're going to reuse that, thread it into the side of the new one. I like to wire it first before I plumb it, so that I have a little more movement to move the pump around. We have 3 wires coming in, and this is a 220 pump. We still have our breaker off. Green, of course, goes to the green ground screw. And the other 2 wires, the black and red, both hots, are going to connect to the terminal called L1 and terminal called L2. It doesn't matter which one goes to which. I could put red bottom, black top, the other way around, no matter. This yellow wire is a little bit in the way. I'm just going to temporarily pull that off so I can get to the terminal. And with a 5/16 nut driver, I'll loosen these, making sure that the hook of the wire goes counterclockwise in relation to the screw, so that as I tighten down on the nut, it will tighten it around the screw. If you have it the other way, it might just untighten it right off of the screw. Now replacing the wire I removed. Gently pushing in to replace our cover plate. Now we can reconnect our bonding wire to the bonding lug. Reconnect our plumbing going in and out by sliding that towards the hose. Okay. Ready to test it out, Joe?
Believe it's time, Rob.
First we have to start up the filter pump. You always want to have your filter pump running. Okay, here we go. Oh, it sounds beautiful. Looking good. And that's how you replace the motor on a Polaris booster pump. See you next time. Good. Thanks for joining us. PoolCenter.com, replacing a Polaris booster pump.